I can't believe it was 2 months ago when we had our kickoff in September. Um, but at that time, it was primarily I was sharing with the intention to open the doors and set the container for the journey this year. Today, we're going to talk more about our intentions for being here, and we're going to talk about really starting to build your toolkit with your most important relationship, which is the one you have with yourself, that beautiful human looking back at you in the mirror every single day. That is the one person who will be walking with you every day of your life, no matter what. And so it's really imperative that we learn to befriend that person. I'd like to do a little icebreaker. I've already asked for your preferred names and pronouns, but if we could go around quickly and say out loud your name and pronouns. And then the question is, if there were a reality TV show about you, what would be the theme, or what would be something that it would include? And you can always pass. We believe in consent and agency wholeheartedly. So I'll start. I'm Lori Rose. I go by Lori. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And if there were a reality show about me, I think it would be called Awkward. And it would be just like following me around, haphazardly running into awkward things and like awkward words, or like going to do something and bumping my head on a cabinet door or something like that. And it would be awkward all day. And I would be laughing at myself. I don't know if other people would be laughing along with, but that's what it would be. Kim, you look pensive. Would you like to jump in?
Yes. So I am Kim. I go by she, her. Oh, wow. I generally lead a pretty boring life. Pretty much consists of school and work a couple days a week, but my one child, not really a child, in her 20s, early 20s, tends to keep it quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Surprising. So I would say my reality show would be called Revolving Door, because never sure what might be around the corner as you are going around. You think all is great, fine, and dandy, and surprise, it's not.
Revolving door. That's an intriguing description. I like it. Makes me think about, like, when you have to push the door, like you have to put an input, and then like you think it's gonna work, but
yeah, and yeah, it's just, this is working. No, it's not.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Carrie, can you go next?
Of course. Carrie Canute. I go by she and her as my pronouns. So my reality show the basis for it would be The Edge. And a lot of people think about when people are on edge, that it's a bad thing, right? And I just kind of look at it as I teeter on the edge of several different things at one time. So sometimes it puts me over, right? Like I'm teetering on the edge of anger, or I'm teetering on the edge of having lots of fun. But when I say I'm on the edge, it's usually meaning that I have one foot in to multiple areas and where I could fall over into anything at any one given time. And so So oftentimes I do feel like I'm like on edge, but at the same time, it's very easy for me to get sidetracked. And so, I definitely bounce from topic to topic and thought to thought and process to process and event to event, things like that. So I'm in the right line of business because I'm going from event to event, but I definitely, it would be kind of like a roller coaster of, I just think of those reality shows, kind of what you were saying, where they're just like all choppy and they're going from here and then they go from here and then they go from there. And there's like no transition. It's just an automatic slideshow. So that's how my life feels.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. And with human connection, it's so fascinating to me how we can all like build on each other's ideas. So I don't know about either of you, but when I hear you share, I think like, oh, I could add, I could add this to mine, and this could be this. Tamra, you are back. Did you get our instructions? So sharing, name you prefer to be called, pronouns, and what your reality.
I was still listening. I just had to move locations. So.
Oh, no problem.
I'm Tamara, and I go by she, her. And wow, as far as reality show, I don't know. I'm an introvert, so I'm kind of always looking to find myself and find how I can be comfortable in places. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's okay.
I'm always searching for this self-care stuff and all of that. I don't know anything about it. So I'm really bad about it, but I'm learning.
I wrote down searching.
Okay, that works.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So I wanted to get us sharing to get us into the space of what kind of agreements or what sort of container helps us to feel the most comfortable and like we can be brave and transparent. Something I'm really grateful for with this program is that Ivy Tech is giving us time. And we know that change is the only constant, or in Octavia Butler's words, the only true constant is change. And change happens over time. It happens in iterations. I'm facing a window as we speak. I'm looking at the leaves turning and falling. And I'm so grateful that Ivy Tech is giving us multiple seasons to walk through this journey. Sometimes folks will say to me like, okay, so we know that you do violence prevention, but healthy relationship building and sexual health and personal transformation and well-being and community health. And we've got 45 minutes. So, let's do it. And Tamara, what you were saying really reminds me like this is a lifelong process. So you'll find me as we walk through the Rose model this year, you'll find me talking about processes and journeys and unfolding again and again. And like we said yesterday, those of us who are in the movement session, the process that happens today in this moment during this hour and a half is the right process because it's the one that's happening right now. So I'm going to share my screen just to a blank page for us, kind of like a chalkboard. And I would love to hear from you. What would help you feel comfortable in this space? Maybe start just by checking in with your breath and see how that's going. Are you able to breathe deep down into your body? Are you feeling tense? Are you clenching up in your neck or your jaw? And what would you need in order to drop your shoulders? What does it take to relax a little bit? And what kind of spaces help you feel like you can be you? And with a smaller group like this, we have the gift where it won't be all chaotic. If you unmute and speak, that's totally fine. Or you can use the chat, or we can also use, this is called a Jamboard. Carrie, would you mind popping in the link for that? So the way this works, you can actually pull this up yourselves and we can all write on it together. Theoretically, that's how it works. And I want to start off with a brainstorm, a heart storm. So if you have this pulled up, you've got, there's a pen and an eraser. You actually have to scroll down to that T for a text box to type. So I typed an example. Can you see it? Yeah. Yeah, and there might be a little bit of a lag. So the question, what facilitates you feeling like you can be brave, like you can be real, like your voice matters, like you can be seen and heard? What kind of agreements might we be able to wrap our arms around or offer to each other?
Lori, I typed something in, but I'm on the breakfast page.
Oh.
So.
Oh, I didn't say that. Thank you. So yeah, I'm on page 7.
Okay.
It's
Gotcha.
a good thing it's a good thing I put tolerance for mistakes on my first one. Okay, non-judgment. I see. Thank you. So yeah, if you go to page 7, then you should have a blank screen. And you can also just talk or use the chat. We don't have to see. Additional help when needed. I love that. I added address if harm is done. So sometimes this is called accountability. I'm going to add some that other people have shared in some other groups that I've facilitated recently. You to not feel dumb for asking questions. Yes. I added when other people share honestly or when vulnerability is welcomed so that someone doesn't feel like they're the only person who's being transparent about something. Trust. Yeah, thank you. We will be talking a lot more about trust throughout the year as we talk about healthy relationship with ourselves, others, building intimacy, and how the building blocks of trust, like the stair steps that it takes to reach trust, look different for every person. So that will be part of the self-discovery process. I added not projecting, so using I statements. That could kind of go along with no assumptions. An invitation to keep checking in with your breathing while we're doing this. It looks like we're still thinking, so I want to give it just a little more time if you have any to add. What do you think about sometimes young people that I work with say the Vegas rule, the what's talked about here stays here? And just to get familiar using this, you can also click on the sticky note option, and then it'll go, like, you can pick a color and put your text in color just for fun. I think I spelled that right. Let me make sure I haven't missed any. Make it a little bigger. I added patience and accommodations for all voices. So understanding that everyone can show up differently, and sometimes folks may feel a need to go off screen or only share in the chat in lieu of speaking, or share energetically in lieu of in words, and that's okay. We're looking for presence and we're looking for engagement, however that might look or feel to you in the moment. Do you feel like we're missing anything? Okay. So we've got time to modify. What I'll do is at the beginning of each session, pull up these agreements, and we can say, is there anything that as a group we want to add to this? When we look at these: non-judgment, trust, additional help when needed, address harm if it's done, address if harm is done, when other people share honestly, tolerance for mistakes, what's said here stays here, patience, accommodations for all voices. How does this sound to you all? does it feel like a space where you can be brave, knowing that that will fluctuate in every moment? I see some
Sounds good.
nodding. All right. Thank you. So next, I'm going to invite us to do a little movement practice. I'll stop sharing here so that we get back to seeing each other. Those of us who have done the breathe movement sessions, so the one in November and September, we went through a whole process rather quickly, spelling the word breathe. And I want to pick out just one of those modalities today. And I'm going to be kind of peppering things with this menu of tools with the goal and intention that you can take whatever tools work for you and leave whatever tools don't work for you. And with that reminder of agency, I actually want to back up real quickly, and we don't have to decide this right now, but I definitely want to plant the seed. We've got our agreements. If you feel like an agreement gets broken, if a boundary gets crossed, how would you like to address it? So some ideas on this in some virtual sessions that I've been a part of with adults. They've talked about maybe raising a hand silently, or using like one of the reactions or something like that. There's a raise hand button in Zoom itself. When I was working with young people over the summer, I feel like I'm not going to remember the sign. They came up with I think it's this symbol, the Hunger Games symbol. And they decided anyone could do the Hunger Games symbol to notify that they felt an agreement had been broken. And they also came up with a safe word, which now I question it every time I say it in South Carolina, but it was pecan. But many folks here say pecan. Well,
I say pecan pie. Now you
So
have me questioning what I
I would love if the word were not pecan, because now I go, wait, what is it? What do y'all think about a word, a symbol, both? But the idea is if someone says or does something that you feel crosses a boundary or compromises your safety, we want you to be able to call it out in a way that is comfortable. So even if it's something, ooh, so a reaction, a wow face.
I get scared with the raising of the hand just because sometimes, especially in Zoom, we're trying to teach that's what,
That's
we
a
raise our
different-
hand when we have a question. So
Mhm.
I was trying to use a different reaction tool.
Tamara, were you saying yes to the wow face? I wanted to try it to see how it felt in my own body, to make sure like I wouldn't feel like I was being rude or something if I used it.
This is astonished.
Astonished face.
There's a lot of faces on there.
I did not realize that there were more faces. I just
Me
thought
neither.
you only had like the first little bit. Oh man.
Oh my gosh, I did not either.
There's a lot of them.
I thought that was a policeman. It's not.
Okay, do we have consensus on wow face?
That works.
Yeah, I was looking for a stop sign, but I don't see a stop sign.
Okay. How
Ooh.
about,
Sorry,
oh, go ahead.
what's that? Oh, that was one I found, but that's like a mute button, I think.
A little bell.
And it's way down there. So, oh, a bell.
I just typed bell in the
Oh, in the search. Mhm.
little feature.
Could do that.
There's exclamation. I like the bell.
Mhm.
Bell. Okay.
Yep. Bell's a good one.
What if we also, like, how does that feel? Could you all try typing bell in the chat and just
Yeah.
see if you feel calm doing that? Like if it's something that you could do without feeling like you are calling someone out or busting through the door or something like that. Okay, bell sound good?
Yes.
All right. So bell it is. And if someone says bell, what I would like to do is give that person a choice and say, like, is this something you feel comfortable speaking about now? Or would you like to address it offline and we'll come back? And then that person can make that choice so that even if you say bell, you're not automatically like put under the
Microscope. Yeah.
Yeah. Sound good?
Mhm.
Okay. So now moving on to the movement practice that I'd like to leave you with today. That first letter E in breathe stands for expansion and contraction. So a really quick and silly story on this, but I want to emphasize how easily contraction can happen, that it doesn't have to be something that we would characterize as really bad or a really big deal. And so often I catch folks denying or minimizing something rather than acknowledging, like, okay, this is contracting me. And what can I do? What can I choose from here? So last night I was going to bed, and going to bed is not that easy for me in the first place. As a survivor who's been sexually assaulted in my sleep many times, it's not the most comfortable space to get into. Like, it's a thing, it's a journey just to go to bed. And in my own neurodivergence, my anxiety tends to spike at night and want to tell me all these things and wants all these different things, and it doesn't like to call the day done. So I climb the hurdle to go to bed, get into my room, put everything down, put my water down, do my thing. And I look at my bed and I have a white blanket on the top and it's got puckers on it. And my house consists of 2 adults and a cat. And the cat is not allowed on, especially this bed. I thought, no way, like, did someone sit down on here? But it was definitely puckers. So I go look a little closer, and sure enough, there's little black fur ball right where I would put the covers on my face. And I've been having like fall allergies lately, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna get cat hair up my nose and I'll be sneezing all day tomorrow. And I have this seminar and now I'll just be sneezing and now I'm not going to sleep. And my anxiety got upset. And I thought, how did this happen? And something about this little thing about this cat hair being in my bed, I stayed up for like an extra hour before I could calm myself down. So then I woke up really tired this morning. And then my inner judge was like beating myself up. Like, you stayed up so late because of freaking cat hair. Like, you let cat hair the best of you. And I was noticed myself, because I study the body, I noticed myself kind of walking around in this contracted position. And then I did this exercise that I want to share with you. And I was thinking, like, who do I want to have the agency for my day? Like, do I want it to be the cat, or could it be me? And so I chose me. So what I would like to invite you to do is think of something tangible. It doesn't have to be recent, but something that contracted you, something that really ticked you off or upset you. It can be something that your judge would call silly. It can be traffic. It could be people up in your space. Just anything really annoying, upsetting that you would super not like to happen. And if you need to step away, we know we're not looking at each other, but if you need to step away, it's totally fine. But the invitation is to let your body drop into whatever natural position aligns with that feeling. So with this cat thing, it was this for me. I was holding my face and my shoulders just slouched, and it was this. So if you can, breathe, think of that really annoying thing, put yourself in traffic, put yourself with this human who interrupted, disturbed, bothered you, or group of humans, or Facebook, or whatever it could be, and allow your body, even if it's crouching all the way down to the floor. I don't want to put any preconceived things in your body's mind, but let your body meld into the position that aligns with whatever this thing is. So I'm going to be quiet and just let you go there for a second. And just breathe and be in contraction, whatever it looks like or feels like for your body. Let the anger or frustration or pissed offness or whatever it may be go to where it needs to go. And take a breath. And then come back to a neutral space on your own time. Maybe shake your body out a little bit so that you can come back to a neutral set point. And next, I'd like you to think of something really easy that brings you joy. So this could be like when you walk into the house and greet your pet, or a small child in your life, or when I did this morning, the experience of dancing outside with some friends recently came up. So something really, really easy that is just purely joyful. It could be your favorite food. Let your body this time embody the position that aligns the most with that thing. So when I put myself into the space of dancing with my friends, my body goes about here. My shoulders settle back. And my hands go to my own body, kind of out of love, enjoyment. But whatever is true for you, think of that easy thing that brings you joy. Take a few breaths and just let your body settle into this space. If there's movement involved, that's totally cool. Take a couple breaths, allowing the breath to drop deep into your belly. When you're ready, coming back to neutral. Now, going back to that thing, the contraction position, the thing that pissed you off or super challenged you, letting your body drop into that position, whatever it may be. So go there, keep breathing. And while you are in your contracted position, think about that thing that brought you into joy. what happened to your body. And if you want to come in here and unmute or use the chat, or you need to go off and do it again on your own, were you able to stay in that same contracted position? Yes or no?
Yes, but I was a lot more calm.
More calm?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So anyone else, when you get in the contracted position and take yourself into the thought of what brings you joy, what happened in your body? I relaxed a little. For me, I noticed I couldn't stay quite as clenched. I didn't spring into the joy position, but something released. So what I'd like to do, and a practice that I'd love for you to be able to take with you, is to be able to move in between contraction and expansion, with the understanding that these are really natural parts of life, like the wings of a bird. We actually have to contract in order to expand. Even an embryo in utero folds over on itself several times, contracts in order to grow. I will share the biggest mistake I've ever made was thinking that I had arrived, like that I would never again go into such deep contraction, that I would get so stuck, or that I could, when I first created the Rose model, I thought like I had hacked myself out of violence and abuse to where I could never be so decimated ever again. And what happened? I took a leap and someone attacked, someone perpetrated more violence. And I went into contraction and I went into that like, no, this cannot happen to me. This is not who I am. This can't happen. And instead of letting myself feel, okay, I'm in contraction, how might I move? Okay, I'm in contraction, how might I move? I did that, but I kept getting stuck and stuck and stuck. And what I found working with a lot of other folks is the more we can practice this, it's about being able to move in between them all the time for the rest of our days, because the cat hair or the whatever it is that was true for you is still going to happen no matter what. There are always things that are beyond our control. So I'm going to play a song. And what I would like you to do is practice going into your contracting position, going into your expansion position, and play with them. Take your time. See if you can contract a little more and notice what that feels like in your body. See if you can expand a little more and notice what that feels like in your body. And then as you go through, I'm going to ask you to dance with expansion just a little more toward the end. So let me share music. Checking in with your breath again, so dropping into your belly. What I meant going at the beginning of my song. So wherever you need to go in your room, in your space, letting yourself drop into contraction. And then taking your time to go into your expanded place that brings you joy.
I was rewriting the story when you took the fall. Unfamiliar colors, begging them to be the same. I was so ready to take the blame. And knowing on the ride home, no one without being told, and no one to be washed away, and no one feeling by this soul.
See what it feels
I am
like.
human after all.
Keep moving in between them.
I am human after all. I am human after all. I am human after all. It's all open in slow motion. Face yourself before words can't be spoken. Room sinks in while battling this notion.
Your body wants to spend more time in any position.
And I swear it's
That
my
is
fault.
okay. See if you can keep moving
And how do you tell
a
her
little bit.
she won't say goodnight? No more simplicity comes in a hunting form. How did this ever become the norm? What if the no was never wrong?
Remembering to breathe.
And what if this is no way to live? And no one on the ride home, and no one without being told, and no one to be washed away, and no one feeling but the soul. I am human after all.
Going from your contracted place.
I am human after all. We are human after all.
Unfurling
We are human after all.
whatever's true for you into your expanded place.
We are human after all. Human.
So taking a breath, coming back. If you'd like to share anything that came up while you were doing that, maybe any realization or any new piece of learning, please do so in the chat so we all learn from each other. From here, I want to talk about more of the crux of what we'll be doing the rest of today and then our session next week. So we're talking about your most important relationship and the sense of turning toward the self. Next week, we're going to talk more about trauma and the brain and the automatic responses that we don't get to choose to contraction. Today, I want to get underneath more and talk about the core of who we are. So taking a breath here, there's something later on when I pull up slides, I'll show you an image. I don't think you need an image to see it, but I use an image a lot of ducks in water. And this is because you don't exist in a vacuum. So when we talk about the core of who you are, and as we go throughout the program, we talk about mind, spirit, heart, body, sexuality, you are influenced also by all these other factors around you, the community, the interpersonal factors, as well as the system. So if you've worked or heard about work in trauma-informed, trauma-conscious fields, you might hear people ask the question that it's not about what's wrong with you, it's asking what happened to you. And to that, I say yes, and what's in the water? So beyond what's happened interpersonally, what are we swimming in? So I've chosen a TED Talk that I'd like us to watch, which is an example of a voice, a lived experience that is different from mine, talking about what is in the water, what's been in the water in their world. And I'd like you to listen to this, and then we're going to talk about who gets to define who we are. So Carrie, if you wouldn't mind sharing directly that TED Talk, we can move to that. Thank you.
So I
hear it
grew
great.
up in New York City, between Harlem and the Bronx. Growing up as a boy, we was taught that men had to be tough, had to be strong, had to be courageous, dominating, no pain, no emotions, with the exception of anger and definitely no fear. That men are in charge, which means women are not. That men lead, and you should just follow and just do what we say. That men are superior, women are inferior. That men are strong, women are weak. That women are of less value, property of men, and objects, particularly sexual objects. I've later come to know that to be the collective socialization of men, better known as the man box. See, this man box has in it all the ingredients of how we define what it means to be a man. Now, I also want to say, without a doubt, there are some wonderful, wonderful, absolutely wonderful things about being a man. Well, at the same time, there's some stuff that's just straight up twisted. And we really need to begin to challenge, look at it, and really get in the process of deconstructing, redefining what we come to know as manhood. This is my two at home, Kendall and Jade. They're 11 and 12. Kendall's 15 months older than Jade. There's a period of time, you know, when my wife, her name is Tammy, and we just got real busy and whip, whip, bit, bam, boom, Kendall and Jade. Right? And when they were about 5 and 6, 4 and 5, you know, Jade could come to me. It didn't matter, come to me crying, you know. It didn't matter what she was crying about. She can get on my knees, she can snap my sleeve up, just cry it out. Daddy got you, that's all that's important. Now Kendall, on the other hand, and like I said, he's only 15 months older than her, he come to me crying. It's like soon as I would hear him crying, a clock would go off. You know, I would give the boy probably about 30 seconds, which means by the time he got to me, I was already saying things like, why you crying? Hold your head up, look at me, explain to me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. I can't understand you while you're crying. And out of my own frustration of my role and responsibility of building him up as a man to fit into these guidelines and these structures that are defining this man box, I would find myself saying things like, just go in your room. Just go on in your room, sit down, get yourself together, and come back and talk to me when you could talk to me like a what? Like a man. And he's 5 years old. You know, as I grow in life, I would say to myself, my God, what's wrong with me? What am I doing? You know, why would I do this? And I think back to my father. There was a time in my life where we had a very troubled experience in our family. My brother Henry, he died tragically when we was teenagers. We lived in New York City, as I said, we lived in the Bronx at the time. And the burial was a place called Long Island. It was about 2 hours outside of the city. And as we were preparing to come back from the burial, you know, the cars stopped at the bathroom, you know, let folks take care of themselves for the long ride back to the city. And the limousine empties out. My mother, my sister, my auntie, they all get out, but my father and I stayed in the limousine. And no sooner than the women got out, he burst out crying. He didn't want to cry in front of me, but he knew he wasn't going to make it back to the city. It was better me than to allow himself to express these feelings and emotions in front of the women. And this is a man who 10 minutes ago had just put his teenage son in the ground. Something I just can't even imagine. The thing that sticks with me the most is that he was apologizing to me for crying in front of me. And at the same time, he was also giving me props, lifting me up for not crying. You know, I come to also look at this as this fear that we have as men, this fear that just have us paralyzed, holding us hostage to this man box. I can remember speaking to a 12-year-old boy, a football player, and I asked him, I said, how would you feel if in front of all the players, your coach told you you were playing like a girl? Now, I expected him to say something like, I'll be sad, I'll be mad, I'll be angry, or something like that. No, the boy said to me, it would destroy me. And I said to myself, God, if it would destroy him to be called a girl, what are we then teaching him about girls? It took me back to a time when I was about 12 years old. I grew up in tenement buildings, you know, in the inner city. And at this time, we're living in the Bronx. And in the building next to where I lived, there was a guy named Johnny. He was about 16 years old, and we were all about 12 years old, younger guys. And he was hanging out with all us younger guys. And this guy, he was up to a lot of no good. He was the kind of kid where parents would have to wonder, what is this 16-year-old boy doing with these 12-year-old boys? And he did spend a lot of time up to no good. He was a troubled kid. You know, his mother had died from a heroin overdose. He was being raised by his grandmother. His father wasn't on the set. His grandmother had 2 jobs. He was home alone a lot. But I gotta tell you, we young guys, we looked up to this dude, man. He was cool. He was fine. That's what his sister said. He was fine, right? He was having sex. You know, we all looked up to him. So one day I'm out in front of the house doing something, just playing around, doing something, I don't know what. He looks out his window, he calls me upstairs. He said, hey, Ant, they called me Anthony growing up as a kid. Hey, Anthony, come on upstairs. Johnny called, you go. So I run right upstairs. As he opens the door, he says to me, do you want some? Now, I immediately knew what he meant, because for me growing up at that time and our relationship with this man box, do you want some meant one or two things, sex or drugs. And we weren't doing drugs. Now, my box, my card, my man box card was immediately in jeopardy. 2 things. One, I never had sex. We don't talk about that as men. You only tell your dearest, closest friends sworn to secrecy for life the first time you had sex. For everybody else, we go around like we've been having sex since we was 2. There ain't no first time. The other thing I couldn't tell him is that I didn't want any. You know, that's even worse. We're supposed to always be on the prowl. Women are objects, especially sexual objects. So anyway, I couldn't tell him any of that. So like my mother would say, make a long story short, I just simply said to Johnny, yes. He told me go in his room. I go in his room, on his bed is a girl from the neighborhood named Sheila. She's 16 years old, she's nude. She is what I know today to be mentally ill, higher functioning at times than others. We had a whole choice worth, you know, inappropriate names for her. Anyway, Johnny had just gotten through having sex with her. Though he actually raped her, but he would say he had sex with her because while Sheila never said no, she also never said yes. So he was offering me the opportunity to do the same. So when I go in the room, I close the door. Folks, I'm petrified. I stand with my back to the door so Johnny can't bust in the room and see that I'm not doing anything. And I stand there long enough that I could have actually done something. So now I'm no longer trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get out of this room. So in my 12 years of wisdom, I zip my pants down, I walk out into the living room, and lo and behold to me, while I was in the room with Sheila, Johnny was back at the window calling guys up. So now it's a living room full of guys, like, you know, like the waiting room in the doctor's office. And they asked me, how was it? And I say to them, it was good. And I zip my pants up in front of them, and I head for the door. Now, I say this all with remorse, and I was feeling a tremendous amount of remorse at that time, but I was conflicting. Because while I was feeling remorse, I was excited, because I didn't get caught, but I knew I felt bad about what was happening. This fear getting outside the man box totally enveloped me. It was way more important to me about me and my man box card than about Sheila and what was happening to her. See, collectively, we as men are taught to have less value in women, to view them as property and the objects of men. We see that as an equation that equals violence against women. We as men, good men, the large majority of men, we operate on the foundation of this whole collective socialization. We kind of see ourselves separate, but we're very much a part of it. You see, we have to come to understand that less value, property, and objectification is the foundation, and the violence can't happen without it. So we're very much a part of the solution as well as the problem. The Centers for Disease Control says that men's violence against women is at epidemic proportions. It's the #1 health concern for women in this country and abroad. So quickly, I'd like to just say, this is my love of my life, my daughter Jade. The world I envision for her. How do I want men to be acting and behaving? I need you on board. I need you with me. I need you working with me and me working with you on how we raise our sons and teach them to be men. That it's okay to not be dominating. That it's okay to have feelings and emotions. That it's okay to promote equality. That it's okay to have women who are just friends and that's it. That it's okay to be whole. That my liberation as a man is tied to your liberation as a woman. I remember asking a 9-year-old boy, what would life be like for you if you didn't have to adhere to this man box? He said to me, I would be free. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Gary, for sharing. It's taking a second, just beat. There are a lot of potential triggers in that video. If there is anything that you'd like to bring up that you heard that is swirling or weighing on you, feel free to jump in or include that in the chat. And from here, I want to walk through some exercises together to delve further into this what's in the water. Shouldn't have had my cell phone buzzing on. So what I would like to do is pull up the Jamboard again. So we've got that link in the chat. And I'm going to share my screen again. We're going to go all the way back to page 1. So if you'll just try to ignore the rest of the information and go to page 1 on the Jamboard, it should say breakfast. And this is going to be an exercise in honesty. So I want us to knee-jerk react here. So if you can start using the T, the type function second from the bottom, what words come to mind when you think of breakfast? Eggs. I'm realizing that my fancy blue background makes the word so like you got to change the letters to another color. Morning, perfect. Meal. Smell of coffee. Okay. Y'all were advanced with white letters and then I went to make the background white. So meal, eggs, morning, the smell of coffee. Maybe pop like one more word in there or phrase. Bacon. All right. Okay, I'm going to move to the next one. So if you move to frame 2, it says puppies, and I'm just going to make it white. So this should populate in black text. So what comes to mind when you think of puppies? No right or wrong answers to any of this. Fluffy. Oh, now mine's on white text, which is awesome. Cute, cute puppy breath. Energy. Insomnia. Okay, I think I see one more popping up. Cuddles. Okay. Beautiful. So hopefully this trained our brains. The idea is that we want to do this word association as quickly as we can to keep us honest. So this is not something to overthink. So I'm going to fast forward to Jamboard number 4. So I'm going to skip school. Haha. I'm going to set this background to white so that we don't have to worry about the text. And I want you to just focus on the green sticky note first. When you hear the words masculine or see the words masculine, men, boys, what words, honest words, come up in your mind? And I also want to give permission that these can be like not not words that we might typically say in a professional setting, but honest words that come up in your mind. Okay. All right, take it maybe a couple more seconds. Okay, I will read these out loud in case anyone's not looking at it or not able to see the screen. So knee-jerk words that have been planted in our subconscious from wherever. Masculine men, boys, we think of muscle sports. Players, entitled, handsome. Dicks, loving. Rough, messy, smelly, in charged. Closed, self-centered, irritating, douchey, whiny, commitment phobic. I'm not sure if I got handsome and entitled. Okay. From here, I want to see if we can do this quickly. Maybe we can each grab like one image, but the idea is as if we were making a magazine collage to actually go into Google image search and find, I've made some suggestions there, and we're just going to plop images kind of on top of or around our words. The idea is that Google image search kind of reflects the collective consciousness. So what are these images showing us about what it means to be a man? Okay, so we got some images coming up. And looks like we all figured it out, but you can just copy and paste. Great. Excellent. I'm going to kind of gather our words so that our images have their own space. Okay, if you're in the midst of any more, you can still put them on in the Jamboard. And next, let's move to the next Jamboard. So this would be number 5. Very nice. Okay, number 5, I'm not totally, okay, let me set the background to white. So number 5, we're gonna do the very same thing, starting with words. When you hear femme, women, girls, knee-jerk reactions of what comes to mind. Even if they are words that are not appropriate to you, that were planted somewhere in your subconscious. Mm. Take a couple more seconds there. Okay, I'm going to read these out loud in case anyone can't see the screen. So words coming up knee-jerk in our subconscious when we think of or see femme, women, girls, overthinker, emotional, soft, fake, loving, bitchy, all about themselves, easy, weak, untrustworthy, selfish, nurturing, indecisive, and affable. Is a word I don't want to say. Okay, so same thing, money hungry. Let's go to Google Images, and real quickly, you can use one of the search terms like women lifestyles, women in ads, beautiful women, girls lifestyles, girls in ads, or something that comes to mind for you. And let's pop in some images from Google about what the Google collective consciousness is showing us. And I will be our organizer this time. From here, our final one is board number 6. So I'm going to move to the next frame. Set this to white background. So we're looking at this construct of gender. So one more time, what knee-jerk automatic words come up when you hear the words transgender, genderqueer, or gender nonconforming? Taking a couple more seconds here. So I will read these out loud. Subconscious responses. We've got laws, worry, different, bullying, weird, confused, brave, unfair, sad, mentally ill, quotes, hate, unaccepted, violence, trans daughter, misunderstood, and arguments. And if you would do the same thing one more time on Google Images, do a search for, I've got some suggested terms like gender neutral ads, trans people, queer lifestyle. And let's get a few images in here. Taking a few more seconds to just grab one or two. Okay. Thank you. So from here, what I would love to do is have a popcorn style kind of open discussion, checking in with yourself, checking in with your body, even thinking back to that expansion and contraction. What position is your body in right now? If you'd like to unmute or please use the chat, what has come up for you in taking a look at this collective consciousness, this kind of glimpse of what's in the water and what the world is telling you about what it means to be a certain gender? Another question to look at is who's missing in these photos? Who do you not see? What demographics, what lived experiences do you not see in the images that Google is showing us? And we've got representations of ads, looks like all different kinds of media. Do you see people who are older? No. Does our worth change as we get older? Are we not interesting to be featured in images?
Not as interesting as younger people.
Is that what you see in the water or what you see personally?
Both.
Okay. Can you speak to why you think that's in the water, that older people are not as interesting as younger people?
I guess I am looking at that on the surface, just younger people are usually prettier to look at, I think. But older people are usually wiser. But you can't tell that from the outside.
Thank you.
I think a lot of it is also acceptance. Older generations and older, they did a lot more of suffering silently, I feel like. So especially in the trans and queer communities, there's not a lot of representation of them in current current media, just because I don't know, maybe they don't feel the need to be so out there. Or, they've lived it, so they don't, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. They just don't, they either suffered silently or they just, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Not as visible.
Yeah.
I'm putting us in an order in the chat for our final exercise. Just a couple more things I want to point out that I'm seeing in the images. Do you see people who have different body types? Do you see people who have larger bodies in these photos? Do you see people who have different ability levels? People who use wheelchairs or have different kinds of limbs?
No.
Who gets to decide who's interesting and who's sexy and who's beautiful and who's worthy?
Marketing departments.
Mhm.
To me, it sort of feels like we're letting the cat, like the cat hair in the bed, like, control the juice and the richness of our lives. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. I know we are at time. If you could bear with me for like a really quick exercise that I want to plant something different in our subconscious and invite you to take this with you over the next week so that we can unpack it when we come back at the same time next week. Is that okay with y'all?
Mhm.
And can you see, let's see. So in the chat, I have my order of Kim, Carrie, Tamara, and Lori. I'm going to pull up some slides here. There's instructions, but the instructions are actually really easy. You're going to see some images of all different kinds of people. And when it's your turn, I think we can all just stay unmuted since we're a small and intimate group. When it's your turn, I've actually changed the words on most of them. The words we're asking you to say are, they are a beautiful human. And the request is for you to look at the person, look in their eyes if you can see them, if their eyes are in the image, and to really feel it in your body. So it goes back to, again, making sure that you're breathing and to really say it with meaning. They are a beautiful human. I think on the screen, some of them still say they are so beautiful. I liked adding the word human. If one or the other phrase, they are so beautiful or they are a beautiful human, speaks more to you personally, you can use that one. So let's begin with Kim.
They are a beautiful human.
Thank you. Carrie?
They are a beautiful human.
Tamara?
They are a beautiful human.
Okay, so we'll keep going a few more rounds. They are so beautiful. Kim?
They are so beautiful.
They are so beautiful.
They are a beautiful human.
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 They are a beautiful human. Let's go one more time.
They are a beautiful human.
They are a beautiful human.
They are a beautiful human.
They are a beautiful human. Stop sharing here. What did you notice doing that exercise? What did you notice in your own body, your own self?
For me, it was, I mean, I don't look at just physical beauty in any person. So it's obviously it's hard since it's only a physical picture for me to really deeply feel it because I don't know that person. I can't say if they're, in my mind, if they're a beautiful human or not, because it's just their physical appearance in an image.
Thank you. Anyone else?
People come in all shapes and sizes, and it doesn't matter. Everyone is beautiful in their own special way.
In the chat, I see different people that make the world beautiful. Thank you, Tamara. Did you notice any sensations in your own body? Any softness or crunchiness? And did you notice any difference in these images versus the ones that Google was showing us?
These were a lot more real, showed a lot more diverse people.
I'm going to just pull up a few more as we close out. So more real, more diverse people. When you think about those words that came up in our subconscious about what it means to be femme or masculine or gender queer versus what these photos show us, what do you think that Google is missing?
Strength.
I'd say love. Okay. So we've got a charge of sorts. We believe in consent, so you can accept it or not. But between this week and next, the invitation is to use this "they are a beautiful human" as often as you can in your subconscious, and just see what it plays with, see what it wrestles with. So challenge 1 is to use this with yourself, to look in the mirror and say, "You're a beautiful human. You're a beautiful human. You're a beautiful human," every time that you look in the mirror, or at least in the morning and at night. And then also say it in your subconscious during your day and see what comes up. See if you can be caught in traffic and say to the person in front of you, "You're a beautiful human." Or if someone in your family is bugging the crap out of you, and you can say subconsciously, "You're a beautiful human. And I would like that the cat doesn't go on my bed," or whatever whatever's true in your world. We focus on the behavior, not the person. So playing with that, and you might find times that the world, that the water has taught you to judge things, has taught you to judge people's clothing or makeup or lack thereof, or whatever it is, and be able to catch that and say in your mind's eye, "You're a beautiful human," and see how that feels, see what comes up in you. And we'll unpack it more next week, and we'll explore more of this core of who you are, digging more into trauma and the brain as well. I want to leave you with a quote about joy today, because I think it's fun. So looking at this concept of contraction and expansion, when you go out into the world, when you step into a space of joy, I found this quote that says, "In times of joy, all of us wished we possessed a tail we could wag." So how might you wag your tail in the world or with your people a little bit this week? All right. As we head out, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for being here. I do have a feedback form. I have hesitation in my voice because I don't like when people send me feedback forms after the fact. But it's only got I think 3 questions on it. And only one of them actually, like only one of them is marked as required. So if you're able to take a minute or 2 right as we step off or this evening, the feedback form is asking you just one single takeaway from this event, from our time today. What did you find or learn? And then optional questions are, what did you like? Anything you'd suggest we do differently? And then there's a space if you want to submit an anonymous question to be answered in the future. You can do that too.
Good.
All right. So if we could all unmute, I want to just give us a chance to say a verbal, someone I adore, Tara Moore, always says a raucous goodbye. Give us a chance to say a raucous goodbye. So I'm going to let us all do that. So one more time, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will look forward to seeing you next week at 5. And
Thank you,
goodbye,
Lori.
until
Thank you,
then.
Lori.
Thanks for being here. You're welcome.